Everyone. Good morning from New York City. A very chilly morning, chilly for us anyway, about -10 degrees. But the sun is shining in as well. So, good morning.
Добро пожаловать. Для того, чтобы выбрать перевод на русский язык, пожалуйста, нажмите на иконку глобуса на нижней панели, и там вы сможете выбрать русский и слушать нашего прекрасного переводчика сегодня. Okay, well,
Yeah.
hello. Let me do a very brief introduction to you, so our audience will also get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
Venerable Робины Courting as a Buddhist nun in the Tibetan tradition, and she's a long life, almost lifelong student of Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Rinpoche. She's known for her clarity, humor, and let me say, fearless honesty. Before ordaining, she was a journalist and activist, and this sharpness and directness are still very much a part of how she teaches. And today we are going to be talking about a Buddhist perspective on how to work with the mind, and the meditation not as simply as tool for the relaxation, but actually a method for understanding of how our mind works, how attachment operates, why we suffer, why we, seek approval, and how can we begin to take responsibility for our inner world. So I'm going to start with a question, and we just discussed that we're going to play it by ear. Maybe I'll have more questions, so maybe Venerable Rabina will just take it from there. And obviously, you guys very welcome to leave your question in the chat, and maybe even live.
Better still, if they want at some point, if they have a question, put it in the chat. But at some point I will say, give me your questions. And I really want to speak directly to people. So I like them to speak their question. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, in that case, raise your virtual hand and put on your video, and we're gonna unmute you, and you will speak to Venerable Rabina. Okay. Let's see how it goes. So the topic of our whole event, where we invited...
I need to close the curtain. There's too much sun. I can't even see you. Hang on a second. Hang on a minute. You can look at Buddha for a minute.
Yes, I will. Let's all look at Buddha for a minute.
This one. Is this better? No, not better.
Видимо, очень ясное нью-йоркское утро.
Oh, strange. I have to close both curtains. Hang on.
Так что нужно, видимо, закрыть шторы.
It's so cold here, but I love the sun coming, but I can't see you. So here we'll have to do it like this, okay? Okay, I'm ready now. I'm ready.
We can see you very well. Well, so the whole topic of our online meditation camp, our program is meditation not as a technique, but as a path. So I just want to start with this idea of mindfulness today that always often presented as a wellness tool, exercise or sleep hygiene. And many people sense that there is something more. From your perspective, what is meditation actually for?
Okay, so I mean, for me, I wouldn't even ask the question, what is meditation for? Meditation, I think, okay. When I first was interested in a spiritual path when I was about 30, and that's now 50 plus years ago, I'd been a radical feminist, all these things. And then that was when transcendental meditation was around, TM. So I remember I wanted something spiritual. I didn't know what I wanted. So I heard about that and I did this meditation technique and I did it for a little bit. And then I realized I wanted something more. So all my years as a political activist, what I was really doing was trying to find a view of the world to interpret the world. What is happiness? What is suffering? Why is there happiness? Why is there suffering? What are the causes? Why is there racism? Why is there poverty? I had those questions. So I think since a little girl, brought up as a Catholic, That was first my framework. I loved going to mass. I was in love with God. I was in love with all the saints, so I always wanted a world view. And that was really what informed all of my first years. So then after exhausting all my options with political activism, I joke that when I was a hippie, I blamed all the straight people. Then I was a radical lefty and I blamed all the rich people. And then I was into black politics and I blamed all the white imperialists. And then I was in a feminist. I blamed all the male people. I was looking for a world view. So then I met these Tibetan lamas. And that's when I immediately recognized it was difficult for me because it was very sort of arcane and, medieval. But I realized that's what I wanted. I don't want to just meditate. I don't want to just sit down and close my eyes. And I mean, it's just in one sense in Buddhism, which I understand from now understanding being a Buddhist, with especially the Tibetan Buddhist approach, it's an entire world view. It's a vast and profound, and I mean these words literally, vast and profound, deep presentation of the entire universe, of what the human mind is, of what the world is, of what suffering is. And that's what I've always wanted. So for me, even initially when I met these teachings, and we learned some meditations, the thought for me of sitting down with my eyes closed on my bottom was a stupid idea. I had no interest in stupid meditation. And I mean, I can see in one of the biggest things in the modern world, this cliched view of what being a Buddhist is meditating. So it's like ridiculous. It's like thinking being a tennis player is holding a tennis racket. Meditation is fundamental, but we've got to understand where it fits in the big picture, So that's the first step. So if you have another question from that, or otherwise I can just start presenting and telling you. You keep asking me, what do you want me to do?
Sorry about that. Well, just a very logical outcome. Yeah.
Okay,
please just
okay. I'll just start talking, then I'll explain where, in my way of putting it all, what the point is, what the point of all this is, why, for example, I'm a Buddhist. So, okay, can I have a view? I want to change my view so I can see everybody. There we go. I can see you all now. Okay, great. Hello, everybody. Fantastic. Okay, so the mind is actually absolutely central to all of Buddhism. Without understanding what the Buddha means by the mind, and if we can prove, let's say, that what he says the mind isn't, then the whole of Buddhism would collapse into a heap of incoherent nonsense. There's no question. So we'll discuss that. But let's look at let's look at where he came from. The Dalai Lama often says it was these amazing Indians more than 3,000 years ago. They were the ones who began the investigation into the nature of self. Now, maybe modern people think it was Mr. Freud 100 years ago. Well, how arrogant can you be? This is just like pathetic. And I have to say, I mean, even only now in the modern world, and I would suggest it's since the last 30, 40 years of the Dalai Lama being in the modern world and very purposely making contact with the best thinkers in the modern world, the best scientists, the best thinkers, the best philosophers, the best religious thinkers. It's only really now with more and more of the Tibetan Buddhist literature being translated into modern languages that the modern thinkers are beginning with a little bit of humility to see how absolutely mind-blowing the Indians were before the Buddha. These genius Indians, in fact, they were the ones who discovered the human mind. I don't mean invented it, but plumbed the depths of it, looked into it, and presented a detailed, precise, view of exactly what the mind, not just of humans, all minds of all sentient beings is, how it functions, and then, of course, radically how to transform it. This is the whole point, So the Buddha's view, in Buddhism, there is a vast view of the universe itself, how it functions. There is a vast view of what the mind is, and this is central. This is the point, So then the Buddha, there he was, he came in this Indian tradition, and these genius Indian thinkers and scholars and yogis, they are the ones who created this brilliant psychological skill known in the world as you know, technically as we know in Sanskrit as shamatha, or in Tibetan as shine, or in English single pointed concentration. And one of the variations of that in the world is this vague notion of mindfulness, 49 different variations of it. They created this brilliant psychological skill that enables a person to completely subdue the grosser level of mind, which means the sensory consciousness and the really complex, complicated thinking process. So, and this technique enables a person to go beyond those levels of cognition, beyond those levels of mind, beyond the levels of mind where the brain is involved, to levels of mind that the modern neuroscientific views and the modern psychological views do not even posit as existing. And still, all the knowledge in neuroscience, which is incredible, is, and I'm not being rude here, is gross in comparison with what these Indians discovered. In other words, this is the point. And the Indians came up with this. This technique enabled you to go deep into your own mind, which means your subjective cognitive process itself. And I am not discussing the brain. So I would suggest that the brain, and this is not trying to insult neuroscientists, is a physical indicator of what is going on in the mind, but only at the gross level, the very tip of the iceberg of the mind. Only the gross level of mind is what is indicated by the brain, the genes, DNA, and all the rest. But of course, that's the modern view. We only posit the physical. Well, this is really gross if we compare it with what these genius Indians found. So Buddha went through that system that was, 2,500 years ago, these incredibly sophisticated thinkers and scholars and yogis. He, went through these stages that these genius Indians already went through, which enabled them to discover the mind, which enabled them to get rid of the grosser level of suffering, even subtle levels of suffering. But they, as far as Buddha is concerned, they didn't go far enough. So that's where he diverged in his own direction. And now we have what's called Buddhism. And so the key point at which Buddha diverged in his own direction is at the very point of exactly what is the nature of self. That's the actual pursuit in Buddhism. What is real? What does exist? What is the mind? What is a person? What is reality? That's the essence of what Buddhism is. So all the Buddhist philosophy, psychology, epistemology, all of this is all around that. So the job of discovering what is true and what is not, that's the key point for the Buddha. So why that? It sounds so peculiar, what is true and what is not. And it's not meant to be fundamentalist and kind of religious, like dogma, not like that. So that before we even go there, let's remind ourselves of who this person Buddha is, And this is where if you look at Buddhism and here's me with a Buddha behind me, it looks like religion. I'm a Buddhist nun, sounds like religion, right? So we have all these assumptions about religious philosophy, and all the major religions on this planet, the major ones that we know about, especially those emanating out of a little country called Israel, the Judaic view, the Islam view, the Christian view, and the variations of the Christian views, we assume that is religion. So of course we assume religion equals a creator. Well, no, not for Buddha. And this is it's more than radical. It's outrageously radically different view. It seems similar. There's so much similarity between those theistic religions and Buddhist religious philosophy. But the fundamental difference is Buddha has found, and again, this is the point, from his own direct experience, that the creator concept is mistaken. It's a misconception. He's not being rude. And where did he discover this? From his own mind. So he has investigated his own mind. He's accomplished this single-pointed concentration. With that in brilliant skill, he's enabled himself to unpack and unravel his own mind. And this is the point for the Buddha. What he has found from his own direct experience, that what we call, what he would refer to as all the voices, what I can call the voices of ego, all the neurotic states of mind, all the fearful states of mind, the afflictions, the jealousy, the depression, the attachment, the anger, the root misconception, the root delusion that Buddha has described, this primordial ignorance, this ma-rigpa in Sanskrit, known colloquially, if you like, as ego grasping, this primordial neurotic state of mind, that all of these states of mind, which in the modern view are normal parts of a normal person, So normal that we'd think you'd be abnormal if you didn't have them. Buddha is so radical, he has found from his own direct experience that all those neurotic states of mind, and we're not discussing the brain here, are not at the core of our being and therefore can be completely removed from the mind. This is outrageous. So we look at this word, the Sanskrit, the Tibetan equivalent of the Sanskrit word Buddha. The first syllable, the word is sangye. The first syllable, sang, implies the utter eradication from one's own mind of all these neuroses. Utter and complete and total eradication. That's when you achieve your own nirvana. Not some place like heaven. It's a mental state, where you've done the job utilizing single-pointed concentration, plumb the depths of your own mind, identified the neuroses, unpacked and unraveled and deconstructed them, and eventually removed them from the mind. That's the first one, sung. If you like, that's the wisdom wing. A bird needs two wings, wisdom and compassion. Now, not only has he discovered we can do that, he also, the second syllable, yay, that implies the development to perfection of everything else in the mind, all the virtue, the goodness, the clarity, the wisdom, the compassion, the kindness, the generosity, the forgiveness, the intelligence. Those qualities, from the Buddha's perspective, from his own observation, they are at the core of our being and can be perfected. That's Buddha. So if that's the end result, then surely that indicates immediately the methodology. We'd better learn to know the human mind and what the hell it is, and then learn to become so first theoretically learn the theories. You can't just look into a garden by being mindful and hope that suddenly you become a great botanist. That's absurd. That's where the limitation of just being mindful is just ridiculously small, You can be mindful of a magnificent garden. You can even be so mindful of it, you could replicate it in a drawing. But what good is that unless you imbue that mindfulness with intelligence, which is you need to learn botany. In other words, you need to learn to know how to identify all the parts of that garden. You'll never know what a weed is and how to distinguish it from a flower until you learn botany. Mindfulness will not help you do that. Same with your mind. You can look at your mind for 1,000 years, but if you don't know how to identify what you see there, and here we're describing Buddhist botany, Buddhist psychology, his elaborate, clear, vast, detailed, precise presentation of exactly what the mind is and exactly how it functions. You need to imbue your intelligence, your concentration, with intelligence so that you can observe what the hell is going on in this chaos. I mean, we know this mind of ours, 1,000 thoughts a second. We haven't got a clue what's going on. You can be so mindful, you can become very calm. Even that, big deal. That's kind of nothing in comparison with what we can accomplish, This is the Buddha's view. So you mightn't hear words like this if you read the Tibetan text, but I'm extrapolating and putting it in modern language, You won't hear this if you read the text in Burma or study in Thailand. I'm putting it in modern language. This is exactly what Buddha is saying. So this is the point of knowing your mind. This is the point of being your own therapist. So the first part is because you know why? Why? Because you're sick of suffering. Because Buddha has found, and he presents this in his Four Noble Truths, that these neurotic states of mind they are the source, the main source of one's own suffering, which is a bit shocking to us. We don't believe this for 1 second. Not for 1 second. And that the positive states of mind are the main source of one's own happiness. So the starting point for being a Buddhist is not holy and compassion. It's compassion for yourself. You're sick of suffering. You're fed up with all the dramas in your own mind. You're sick of all the dramas in the world. So you learn to know you can change your mind. So now when I heard the teachings, I was able to extract that essence, and that I found very appealing. But I wasn't interested in sitting on my bottom with my eyes closed. I wanted to know my mind, no question. But there's way more you need to do before you're prepared to sit on your bottom, In fact, that's quite advanced to be able, as Lama Yeshe puts it, many modern people go off to meditate and end up in a psychiatric hospital because we haven't got a clue in hell how to deal with the chaos in here, It's highly sophisticated, actually. So this is the point of it all. This is certainly the Tibetan Buddhist way of saying it, And so So if this is true, if this mind of ours, this consciousness, these words are used synonymously, if it has this marvelous potential to be free of the rubbish and therefore free of suffering, and full of the goodness and therefore full of happiness, just for oneself, forget the compassion wing, then we better know what the damn mind is. So let's look at what Buddha's view is. The theory, but his coming from where? Not speculation, not from a dream, not from revelation, not from a vision, from his own internal direct experience. So, okay, first, the word mind is used synonymously with the word consciousness. Broadly speaking, in Buddhism, you can say that. The next point, and this is fundamental, as I said before, that mind is not physical. It is not the brain. It's not even a function of the brain. So this initially is shocking if we're a neuroscientist, or if we only have the materialist philosophical view of the world. It's a shocking concept. It sounds like ridiculous religion, but there's no contradiction. We can put it together, you've got to be patient. So there is a physical component, and we have the non-physical, and they work intimately together. But the Buddhist view of what the mind is it's not physical, okay? First, it's the mind and consciousness, synonymous words. Second, it is referring to this non-physical part of us, and so there's two parts. There's a sensory consciousness, and then we have mental consciousness. And this is tremendously powerful, even the difference between these. We'll go into it, but never mind now. The sensory consciousness and the mental consciousness. So the mental consciousness, as Lama Zopa puts it, that's where the workshop is. That's where all our thoughts and feelings and emotions and unconscious and subconscious and instinct and intuition, this entire spectrum of our inner being, that's our mental consciousness. That's where the workshop is, as Lama Zopa puts it. That's what we have to become intimately familiar with so we can do the job of unpacking and unraveling and deconstructing and changing the mind. The next one about the mind is that this is a shocking part for us. This is shocking. If you're religious, you just assume there's a part of you that comes from God, that the essence of you. The Christians call it a soul. The Greeks call it an essence. Some people call it a spirit. The Hindus call it a self, the Atman, all of these things. Buddha does not assert this extra component. He says it's a misconception. We have a body and we have a mind. So now what he means by mind is not physical, but he's also referring, as I said, to the grosser level, sensory consciousness, that part of your mind, which is not physical, that works nicely with the eyeball and the other bits and pieces to have a cognition of eye consciousness, and the eye consciousness can cognize shape and color. We have ear consciousness, tongue consciousness, definitely these, and there's a detailed presentation of how the sensory consciousnesses work. And also how they lead us up garden paths. We'll talk about this. And then we have the mental consciousness. So within the mental consciousness, where the workshop is, there's the presentation of mind in Buddhism. First, there's the grosser level, the most evident gross level, which is all our crazy conceptual thoughts. So it's either the emotional conceptual thoughts, all the afflictions, or it's all the conceptual thoughts about reality, scientific thoughts, mathematical thoughts, musical thoughts, all the clever intellectual thoughts we have. That's conceptuality. But curiously, and we need to look at this, so are the emotions. They are rooted in being conceptual thoughts, but combined with masses of physical energy and masses of emotion. So this is a central point in Buddhist psychology, that these emotions are rooted in being conceptual thoughts. And so they're at the grosser level of our mind. Now, that's all we posit as existing in modern science. We don't posit any subtler level of mental consciousness at all. So it's a really gross presentation in comparison, not being rude, just trying to tell you, So then you've got a subtler level of mental consciousness, and you can only access that once you've got samadhi, once you've got shine, once you've got, shamatha, once you've got single-pointed concentration. And that level of mind is still even more subtle. It's still conceptual, but incredibly subtle. And then even more subtle than that is a level of mind that is literally non-conceptual. That's where we've got to get to. to really get the job and finally to unpack all the nonsense and achieve liberation, which is this business of nirvana. All this is a psychological job. Do not call it religious. It is if you like, but it's totally psychological. It is the mind. There's no other piece there. So mind has a much more vast, what the word is used in a much vaster way, refers to the sensory consciousness, refers to conceptual thoughts, refers to all our emotional states like anger and love and compassion. It refers to these subtle levels that absolutely do not need a brain. When you can see a person in fully developed single point and concentration, they will look like they're dead because their grosser level, the physical, has ceased functioning, which of course is reinforcing this view that your consciousness finally in its nature is not physical. This is what these Hindus discovered 3,000 years ago, you know, and we arrogant materialists just throw off as some kind of superstitious nonsense. We're so rude. I mean, modern thinkers of any kind would be blown out by the sophistication of the presentation of the mind, but they've got to first posit the possibility that they're discussing something not physical, which is not how we think in our modern world, you know. So this is an incredibly sophisticated view coming from these Indians 3,000 years ago. And Buddha took all this and moved off in his own direction, you know, and perfected his own approach to this, right? And the other point that's shocking is that your mind is not given to you by somebody else. This in Buddhism is the stupidest idea. I mean, Buddha is polite. He doesn't talk like this. So if you're a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew, there's some essential part of you that comes from God. And, you know, and then you've got the materialist view, and effectively our mother and father created us, didn't they? That's what we assume. So the more, if you're a Buddhist, you analyze that, the contradictions of that view, the absurdity of that view is like ridiculous. I know it sounds weird initially. The idea that your love, your compassion, your being good at music, your being good at football, your mental tendencies, your being good at science, that these tendencies can be contained in a physical thing like a brain or a gene, and that you can get these from your parents is like laughable for the Buddha. I'm saying it purposely in this shocking way, okay? But you've got to think it through to see how it's illogical, utterly illogical, nonsense, ridiculous. I'm being extreme in my language, but just hear my point. You have to agree with me. I'm not asking you to agree with me, I promise. Your mind is, so then this is where we now get to what the mind is. If it didn't come from mummy and daddy, if it is not a function of the brain, if it is not a function of a creator, well, where did it come from? What is its source? Well, speaking in a very simple way, the Buddha would talk about, you know, the fundamental law that runs the universe, and we agree with this in science. It's called cause and effect. If you have a flower, you know that you have to unpack what the causes of the flower are, so you can understand that flower, and then if you want to, you can get another flower. Or equally, if it's a weed, you can stop having it. A computer, everything that exists has causes. Well, the Buddha's view of what the mind is, one way of presenting it, they talk about, one of the terms they use in Buddhist psychology is the term mental continuum. So it's sort of like this sense of this non-physical energy, this continuity of mental moments. So this moment of my cognitive experience, you know, what's its main cause is the very previous moment. So it's in a kind of a linear sense going back. Well, what's the cause of that moment? The previous one. And what's the cause of that moment? The previous one. So if you think of all your mental experiences like a chain of a river of mental moments, or a chain of unbroken links, each going to the previous. And there's even a meditation you can do just, you know, to get the sense of this, that your consciousness, your anger, your love, your kindness, your jealousy, your depression, your being good at football, these tendencies in your mind, you know, yes, forget the genes, forget the brain, but itself, cognitive subjective process. And you track all that back, this chain of mental moments, and inexorably, inevitably, you'll get back to the first moment in your mother's womb. If you keep going back, you get to the first moment of conception. Well, then you have to think, well, what about the previous moment? Where did this continuity of mental moments, where do these tendencies come from? So, as we know, the second before conception, the sperm is in daddy's body, the egg is in mummy's body. Well, where was the mind, the consciousness, which is neither of those? Well, you can track it back to a previous moment of itself, this continuity of mental moments. And the Buddhist view in the presentation, a few weeks before that, that consciousness was in a previous body, and you go back to a previous life, and you go back to a previous life. So the big fat question is, well, when did I begin? When did my anger begin? When did karma begin? When did the world begin? We all want the first moment. Well, it's a misconception. It's a wrong question, Buddha says. I remember the Dalai Lama in all his discussions with all the scientists about the Big Bang. He said, sure, no problem, Big Bang. Just not the first Big Bang, that's all. We all want a first moment. Well, philosophically for the Buddha, that's a misconception. Nothing can have an absolute first moment. So all the Christians, of course, the first moment of everything is God. That's a misconception. And there's detailed philosophical presentations of this and discussions of this, how it's not viable, So here we're taking as our hypothesis, okay? This idea that my own mind is mine. So then I better learn the contents of it. If I want to be happy, and instead of relying on boyfriends and salaries and nice weather, which is how we do now, and I'm taking Buddha's view, if what's in my mind is the source of my happiness and suffering, I'd better learn to understand it and start to work with it. That's the bottom line. So I can be happy. I can stop suffering. And then, of course, on the basis of any success at that, you start to open your eyes and go, oh my God, we're all in the same boat. And now you can start using this ability that you've used for yourself to help others as well. That's the bottom line. That's the essence, all the way to Buddhahood, So your mind is not physical. Your mind is not the handiwork of mummy or God. It's a ridiculous idea for the Buddha. Your mind has much subtler levels of capacity for cognition. The mind is a beginningless and indeed an endless continuity of mental moments, and your mind has this marvelous potential to be completely free of garbage and fully developed in goodness, which then enables you to be of benefit to others in much more radical ways than we can imagine. So that's the essence of it all. So now I think we can have discussions and questions, and then we can see where we go with it all.
Okay. Thank you so much, Venerable Робины, for this very concise presentation of the whole path. I think we didn't expect any of those.
Okay, good. All right.
By surprise, but now we have some ideas. So please, if anyone have their questions, raise your virtual hand. It's in the React box on the bottom panel.
So if you prefer to make it in the boxes, do that. But I'd like to talk to you. If it's not too complicated with the translation, it's nice to hear I won't hear your words. Well, I'll just hear the English translation. Okay, let's just do it. Let's get some questions.
Yeah,
so
let's just do it.
Come on.
And if you want to do it in Russian, you can, and I will just translate it.
Okay, there's Katya, there's Polina, there's Maria. I don't know who that is. I can't read the Russian. So these people have questions. Come on, let's go.
Okay, Katya, can you unmute yourself? Katya need co-host, right? Полина or Katya or
Да, я здесь, я уже попросила включить, секундочку.
Все, Катя, вы можете себя.
Все работает. Hello, Робины. It's very nice to meet you, and I'm super
Okay, good, darling. Good.
I have a very straightforward question.
Okay.
So what is the ultimate and practical path to this liberation, to get rid of suffering? I've been looking for it for a while now, and my recent try was Vipassana 2 weeks ago. But
what did you do 2 weeks ago? Sorry, what was that?
Vipassana.
Oh, okay, good, wonderful. Yes, good.
And there it was presented as the unique way the Buddha taught people as a way to liberation. But then I started getting other sources like, yes, this method is not perfect, maybe it's not the best, going is too strict, and I start having doubts. Okay, maybe should I try something else? And I'm stuck in the loop of looking for ways and ways.
I understand, Katya.
Settle.
I think the point is there are so many techniques out there. And that's perfectly fine. There are different variations, different people. Some people just, that's the system they find, and that's the most perfect one for them. I mean, each of us is so different, Katya. So here you're hearing another presentation. So it's completely up to you to decide. All the choices are out there. You just got to learn to listen, to think about it, to read, to do a course, use your own intelligence and map and find your way on these paths. So the onus is really on you to do all that. You know, it's up to you. If you, let's say, like what I'm saying, then you go, oh, that's interesting. I might go to another one of her classes. Then you discover, oh, there's another Tibetan Buddhist over here, and it'll unpack and unfold for you one step at a time. Just in the same way that you learn to play tennis or yoga, you use your intelligence, you check the people, you make sure they have a good reputation, you think about it, and you keep moving until you find the system that works for you. That's the answer, darling.
So there is no one way for all. So this is truly
Bloody hell,
individual.
you know it's true. You know it's possible. How can you ever think that? I mean, look at Christianity, look at football, look at yoga. There's a million variations according to your style. Come on. But you've got to find one that is authentic. Don't just jump in the deep end and be emotional, especially a spiritual path. There's a lot of rubbish out there, a lot of stupid people. So be very careful, very intelligent, use your wisdom and really investigate. Do courses. There's so much online these days, so much, you know. There's so much published and so much online. So have enthusiasm to look into what works for you. That's the job to be done. That's our responsibility is to do that. What do you think?
Thank you. Yes, can I have just one more question before?
Yes. Yeah.
Again, when I was on Vipassana, it was said that the state to reach this freedom takes like several lifetimes, and it's a bit discouraging. Like, I don't know what people call nowadays in modern world, it's called awakening, the state where you realize who you are.
I understand.
Is
It's all,
this
no, darling, again,
achievable?
Katya, listen, it's Katya. What I've just said to you, all these words I've just said in the last 30 minutes, you know, is you won't hear those from other systems like the one you've just done. And then it's not contradictory. You're not going to, but everybody has a different approach. The Tibetan Buddhists, especially even within the Tibetan Buddhists, there are different traditions. Some have more emphasis on studying the philosophy. Some have more emphasis on just sitting. You've got to find the one that works. And there are different presentations what awakening is. You've got to look into these things and find out. And if our mind is beginningless and endless, we have to have a bit of patience, you know, it's okay. Because every step of the way, you can make progress. Every step of the way. You don't just wait till the end to be happy. It's a gradual process. Like you might take you 20 years to be the best tennis player, but you can enjoy the process. You can develop, you know, it's okay. So just use your intelligence, Katya. Start to read, start to look, start to listen, open your mind. You're the boss, honey child. You're the boss of your life, you know, there's no question. So keep moving, baby.
Thank you.
All right. So we have here Paulina. Talk to me, Paulina. Paulina, yes.
Полина, вас не слышно. Включите микрофон.
Yeah,
Вас...
sorry. So my name is Paulina. I'm a somatic therapist, and what I'm doing in my life, you could call some kind of creating and developing a sensory bodily consciousness.
Sorry, you're speaking too fast for me. That's very hilarious. And I speak so fast. Start again, Paulina. I missed you.
Okay. I'm a somatic therapist, and I'm doing.
You're a somatic. Would you please tell me what that means? I'm just curious. I don't know.
Somatic. It's a body developing their body consciousness.
Okay, go on. Good, go on.
Yeah, and I'm helping people to connect with their bodies.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's challenging for myself and for my clients as well to keep motivated and keep the commitment throughout the sessions.
So what is the goal of somatic therapy? What is your goal? What is your wish? How do you help people to do what?
My personal goal is to help people to go more into their creativity so they can create their own
learn to become more conscious, more aware, more optimistic, more positive. You're trying to help people
to be more grounded and see more options in the world.
Okay, wonderful. You're trying to help people's mind. So you're using this method of going via the body to help people with their mind, basically, aren't you? I mean, I'm just using the Buddhist words, body and mind. Mind is thoughts, feelings, emotions, creativity, love, compassion, that part of you. So you're using this method of noticing your physical experiences in order to get in touch with what's inside, yeah?
Yeah, and to see the world
Marvelous,
is
marvelous.
not divided. So I see the perspective.
What,
when it's
darling?
not
Say it
divided.
again. What?
So
Say it again.
I'm trying to see the perspective when the body and mind are not divided into separate parts, but creating the unique and the one creature, like
I understand. So that's fine.
consciousness.
Whatever the view is, I understand your point. So what? So your question is?
Sometimes I feel like we don't have not enough motivation for people to do exercises every day. You know, sometimes
Okay. So this is okay. Okay, this is a key point.
So
No,
how
I
to
hear you,
create
Paulina.
discipline?
I hear you, darling. I hear you so loud and clear. Okay. So this is the one. Forget so-called spiritual development. Forget whether, you're talking the words you're using Buddhist words or Christian words. It doesn't matter. It's the same with yoga and cooking and being a good human being. Discipline is one of our hardest qualities. So let's analyze. Let me just now use the Buddhist analysis of why that is, right? And this is where we're going to get into, Paulina, this is where we're going to get into the Buddhist analysis of the problems in our mind. These are the things that cause us problems. These hold us back. These make us suffer. These cause us to have a lack of discipline. These cause us to get angry. All this is just the Buddhist analysis. So one of the key ones is, okay, you're saying, and Buddha agrees, we've got potential. You're trying to help human beings develop their potential. How marvelous, whatever words you like. Fantastic. So the big, so then I need to just to go up, I need to present the Buddhist view of the mind for a second, Paulina, just roughly speaking, the mental consciousness. We've got there's three categories of states of mind as far as the Buddhist view is concerned, thousands of states of mind. The first, but forget the third lot. We'll just look at the second and the first and the second. It's very simple, almost deceptively simple. And I mentioned it briefly. There are the I-based, fear-based, neurotic, unhappy, disturbing states of mind, attachment, anger, jealousy, low self-esteem, depression, anxiety. We know these states of mind intimately, but then you've got confidence, self-confidence, courage, perseverance, kindness, love, compassion. So in broad terms, already you're indicating we want to try and get in touch with the second lot so we can have perseverance, so we can keep going and have discipline. So what is the key to success here? Well, the obstacle is the one of attachment. And this is, in Buddhism, we can spend the next 6 weeks just presenting it in detail. But let me just present it here for reference to your point. The key problem with this attachment in Buddhism is it's a primordial feeling of dissatisfaction. I am not enough. I don't have enough. I haven't achieved enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I haven't, it's like a primordial feeling of dissatisfaction, never enough. So then, of course, if you feel you're never enough or don't have enough, I'm not talking in a simple sense, then you crave something. Something's missing. So the first obvious level of attachment is attachment to the objects of the senses, cake and boys and video games and money and beautiful things and music. Nothing wrong, just looking at it. So we crave all of this. But the level of detachment I want to discuss here, Paulina, is a more subtle one. It's this attachment to comfort. So why we lack discipline, you go to your meditation class, you get all excited, I want to do that, yes, I want the results, and within 3 days you say, oh, I can't be bothered, and you forget all about it. Exactly the same with what the techniques you're giving your people, exactly the same if you go to yoga, exactly the same if you go to music class. We get excited in the beginning, attachment gets all excited, and then we go, oh, I can't be bothered. Because one of our deeper attachments, a really gross one, is attachment to comfort. I can't be bothered. So then you analyze what is it you can't be bothered doing is the thing that takes effort. And if you want to accomplish something, music, developing your qualities, understanding your mind, playing tennis, making a cake, you've got to learn. If it's something you don't know, you have to make effort, and making effort is not comfortable. You're pushing against your instinct. So this is the major problem. It's called attachment. And in this particular case, it's not attachment to sex or drugs or rock and roll. It's this attachment to being comfortable. So what it causes us to think is, oh, I can't be bothered, So the solution, and it's not easy, is the only reason we'll persevere and have discipline to do something is if we are really confident about the benefits. So this is in you and your practice. You're helping people, Paulina. If you can really get it clear for people the benefit of doing this, then we will persevere even when it's difficult. So just think of going to the gym. You're overweight, you've got too many kilos, your muscles are really weak, and you look at nice pictures of these beautiful people looking gorgeous. You think, oh, I want to be like that. You get all excited. You go to the gym and you do the machines, and then within 3 days you go, I can't be bothered, and you give it up. But if you keep remembering the benefits just to yourself, you will persevere. Because attachment wants to be comfortable. Attachment doesn't like making effort. So what do you think of that analysis, Paulina?
I think the problem is I'm very agree with you, but also I'm not sure about the benefit, because people sometimes understand the benefits. But
what? Sorry, what do you mean the benefits? Sorry, what are you saying?
You said to be motivated, you need to be sure about the benefits.
Well, of course you do. Otherwise, why would you do something if you're not motivated, if you're not confident about the results? What would make me want to persevere walking on a very rough road with big rocks on it if the end result isn't what I want? What a stupid waste of your life. So, of course, you have to be confident about the benefits. Otherwise, why would you do something?
But sometimes people don't believe they could receive.
Well, that's your job, is to encourage them. I understand your point, and that's why we don't make effort. So that's your job. And if you are a good example of the somatic therapy that you're teaching others, then you will be showing people example yourself. So that's up to you. You can't force people. We can't force, but this is the logic of it, Do you understand me?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good. Okay. So go on, other people here. I can't read your Russian words. So whoever's next. Ina, you do the managing it. Go on then. What's your name, darling?
Здравствуйте, меня зовут Алена. У меня к вам такой вопрос. Спасибо вам большое за встречу. Вас очень интересно слушать, очень вдохновляюще. У меня такой вопрос. Я часто слышу...
Алена, вы тогда делайте паузы, чтобы я переводила ей. Okay. Her name is Alena, and thank you for this discourse. Yeah.
Good, darling.
Задавайте ваш вопрос.
Я часто слышу о том, что об идее буддизма, что буддисты блокируют эмоции, что вот то, что вы говорите, есть 3 состояния ума, и вот состояние беспокоящегося ума, это на самом деле, как будто в понимании, например, моих друзей, это, если человек хочет отказаться от этого состояния, то, соответственно, он хочет просто заблокировать эти эмоции, и есть ощущение, что если это заблокируют, то человек лишается какой-то, если я правильно вообще называть это блокированием, что человек лишается некоторой какой-то...
Sorry, is she asking a question or making a statement? Because I want a question. It really helps to state the question.
Можно ли, правильно ли это называть блокированием эмоций? Нет ли в этом какого-то как будто бы отказа от человеческой природы, что переживать вот это беспокойное состояние ума, это и есть человеческая природа.
Okay. You know what's the question?
So she have heard this perception of Buddhism that Buddhists simply block or suppress their emotion, because if a person cultivates this calm and kind of a wholesome state, aren't they cutting themselves off their states that are also part of the human nature and the human experience?
So if what you're saying is Buddhism, and I find it the most disgusting view in the whole world, and if I've been trying to practice this for 50 years, I must be totally mentally ill. So thank goodness Buddhism isn't what you're saying. Thank God. All right, first point.
Она слушает, she's listening to the simultaneous translation.
I know. So did you hear, so have you heard what I said first? Nod or say no. Did you hear what I'm saying?
Алена, вы слышали, вы поняли, о чем речь, что это распространенное заблуждение, но это не является правдой.
I need to know, don't ask more questions. I need to know if she heard me first, and I'll say more.
Вы услышали то, что Робина вам ответила? Просто скажите да или нет.
Непонятный ответ.
What's she say?
She heard it, but she still doesn't understand. But she
I know that. Well, I've got to get to know if you heard me first, and I'll explain.
Сейчас она объяснит. Она просто хотела удостовериться, что мы на связи, как бы, да?
Okay. So now, remember I said before, the Buddhist analysis would say that with this development of concentration, you learn to see your mind very clearly. So then you have to ask the question, why would I want to do that? the reason she's being translated, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why you want to look at your mind is because you want to begin to identify from the Buddhist analysis, there are the unhappy, neurotic, deluded, painful states of mind, attachment, anger, anxiety, jealousy, and you want to identify those and you want to distinguish them from the other ones, love, compassion, self-confidence, because we've got these different qualities. We know that. And there's no judgment here. So it's a bit, so then the reason you want to begin to identify these is because you then learn to recognize how your suffering comes from the jealousy. When you're jealous, when you're attached, when you're angry, when you're depressed, when you have low self-esteem, we know the suffering is unbearable. So before I go further, would you agree with just that point, that those states of mind are very painful? Do you agree with that?
Вы согласны с тем, что вот эти состояния ума
I'm just asking if she's agreeing that they're painful. No more comment. Are they painful? Does she agree? Are they painful? That's what I'm asking. We're taking this one step at a time. So does she agree that they are painful?
То есть потихоньку по одному...
С одной стороны, это болезненно, а с другой стороны, в этом и есть человеческая природа. Ну, уметь быть способным такое пережить, это часть...
I need an answer. Are they painful or not? That's what I need to know.
She's saying it is painful, but it's also a part of the human experience.
Okay, sure. Listen. Okay, good. Now, you have a garden. A garden is full of weeds and herbs. So what you're saying is, yes, the weeds are a drag, but that's a natural garden. So you have to decide if you think it's possible to pull out the weeds so you can grow more herbs. It's not moralistic, it's practical. That's the Buddha's point, you know. So if you can see your anxiety and see the pain and see the anger, then and know that this is the part that's difficult. Because if you've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever you've got and they shout at you, then I say to you, what's wrong? You will tell me what the boyfriend did because you'll blame the boyfriend for being unhappy. So it might be true. He might be a creep and you should leave him. But the approach here is if I could work on my anger and understand it, it is part of your human nature, and see the pain it is causing. It's not moralistic, and learn to slowly unpack it and slowly know that you can learn to change it. Then who do you think will be the beneficiary of this? You. It's a practical issue. It's a slow, difficult job. It's not suppressing. Suppressing is what we do now. We have two modes of behavior in our world. We vomit everything out or we suppress. These are both disgusting. This job is becoming very courageous and learning to look into your mind and see clearly what is there. Own it with kindness and compassion and really identify yourself and be your own therapist because you want to be happy, you want to be productive, you want to have decent relationships, and you're taking responsibility. So it's a huge job. Are we communicating?
It's just the translation comes with a little bit of a delay.
I understand.
So
I understand.
There could be a gap.
Are we communicating?
No, спасибо большое за ответ.
Suppression that's why people have trauma in this world. Why people have trauma because they have buried their feelings because they are too scared to look. And we need a lot of courage to look inside and see what is there and know we can work with it. It's a huge job to do. And it's the best job in the world.
Спасибо.
Yeah? Okay, darling. Thank you. Good point. Next one. Anton. Yuli. Okay.
Yeah, hello, Robina. Hello, everyone else.
Yes, good. Yes,
Very nice to be there. Wonderful energy coming from you, like admiring, respecting it all the way.
Okay.
My question is kind of on the topic of fear and despair and how it drains one of energy.
Absolutely.
You know, when the stakes kind of get too high, because you were talking about like feeling and remembering the benefits, but at the same time you're remembering the cost of an error. And when cost of an error gets too high, like you can go to the gym and get like jacked and very healthy, but if you don't go, it's gonna be like awful and horrible, and we paint all those like like scary pictures in your mind. Or you can do like the right thing, the good thing, the difficult thing, or we cannot do it and the pressure gets too high and it gets to, you just shut down. You're just not able to do anything. So my question is kind of what's your take on those states?
I understand, I understand. We've all got very different approaches, haven't we? But I'd say if we can understand these two fundamental states of mind in Buddhist psychology, which in modern psychological terms sounds so simple, sounds almost silly. We don't speak in such simple terms in modern psychology. But in the Buddhist one, the most fundamental problems, the base of all the other problems internally, are called attachment and anger. Attachment and aversion. So these are states of mind. So the energy of attachment, like I said, and this is, in the Buddhist view, is a primordially deep state of mind that informs everything we do, even the good stuff, but we can learn to change it. So then attachment, like I said before, it's multifaceted. It's this primordial energy that drives us so deep of never satisfied. Whatever I am is not enough. And then I try to achieve it, it's not enough. I try to get something, it's not enough. I eat a meal, it's not enough. I have one girlfriend, it's not enough. I get this amount of money and it's not enough. It's a feeling of dissatisfaction, never enough, never enough. And no matter how hard we work, it's never enough. That alone, you can almost argue, is an argument for what you're saying. You try something, you make a mistake, you fix it, and then you say immediately, still not enough. And if you're never satisfied, we will go mad. So it's a bit like if you're playing, this is one point, this is one approach. So you say you're deciding to, learn math, and you go to grade 1 and you learn 1 + 1 is 2 and you pass grade 1 exam. Well, it's only grade 1. You're not Einstein yet. But, what we say is, I'm only in grade 1. So we're dissatisfied. And then you think, well, I'll try grade 2. Then you go, I'm only in grade 2. And then by the time you get to grade 900, you're still dissatisfied. So you've got to find the way to, one, want to achieve something, have a goal, but you rejoice each step of the way. You go to the gym, you achieve a little amount. Well, I did a good job. You learn to be satisfied, and then you go to the next step, and then you go to the next step. It's an unfolding. So
what if you don't achieve the goal? What if you're
it's one step at a time, sweetheart. No, you do achieve it, but you think you don't. You have to be satisfied with what you achieve. You have to be content one tiny step at a time. You never played tennis. You pick up the tennis racket and you hit one ball one time in the 1 hour. You go, fantastic, I did a good job, and I'll play it again. So it's one step at a time. But because this dissatisfaction is a bottomless pit, and we turn it against ourselves, and no matter how hard you work, how much you try, you're always saying it's not enough. That, in a sense, almost that is the problem. Now, if you don't play tennis and you pretend you do, then it's true, you didn't do it. But we're all working so hard. It's clear you're intelligent, you have a good heart, you try really hard, but we always criticize ourselves. We always are dissatisfied with ourselves. And so another way to put that is attachment goes, oh, I'll try and do this now, get all excited, and then because you think you didn't achieve enough, you then have aversion and you get disappointed. That's anger. And then for some people, that's volatile. They'll shout. That's my kind of person. Your person is more internal and you become depressed. So depression is internalized anger, and it's the result of thwarted attachment. So we run 1,000 times a day between attachment and aversion. You get all excited, and I'll try and do this, you do it, and you're disappointed. Disappointment is aversion. Disappointment is anger, but mild. And so you're never satisfied. So when we get, it sounds simple, but it really is quite profound.
It is, so but how do we unfold it? Like when we get the whole picture?
Yeah. One step at a time, like anything. We're talking mathematics here. You have to study it. I'm talking Buddhism here and trying to present it simply. And it's not easy, but the presentation is there. We start small. We start with a simple practice. You start to learn then to hear your thoughts. So a tiny example. You live with somebody, let's say, I don't know, maybe you got a girlfriend or something, or a dog or a mother.
I got a boyfriend, that's all right. Yeah.
Okay, good, darling. You got a boyfriend. So you live together. And let's say, you know, he slurps his coffee in the morning, and you get annoyed. I mean, they say in the world, it's very funny, that these human kinds of sounds are what make people want to kill each other, you know?
Yeah, they do.
It's so tiny. So there you are. You've done your meditation in the morning. You're feeling all nice. You come to the kitchen, and there he is slurping his coffee again, you know? And so that aversion takes over and exaggerates. The key function, by the way, of all the neuroses, the key function of they exaggerate. Attachment exaggerates the deliciousness of something. Aversion or anger or depression exaggerates the ugliness of something. So there you are feeling nice. You walk into the kitchen and you hear the slurp, and your attachment is only wanting nice things. The key job of attachment is the junkie that only wants everything to be lovely. So you're expecting lovely sounds when you walk into the kitchen. You don't realize it. And then the slurping comes, and then you get irritated, annoyed. It's a polite word for anger. And then you shout at him. Right there, you practice. And you think, well, this is not just not being satisfied, but this is being kind as well. You shut your mouth. Okay, let him enjoy his coffee. There's a tiny example of how you work with your attachment and your aversion.
But doesn't this lead to resentment? Like you shut your mouth, and this is like
no, this is
like
my
bottling
point
up the emotion.
No, the point to the other woman. You don't suppress it. That's the point. You're conscious. You're conscious. You're conscious. You talk to yourself. As you're walking into the kitchen, you know what to expect. Okay, honey, you know, here we go again. It's okay. I can handle this. It's only slurping his coffee. Let him enjoy his coffee. Salute. You've just solved the problem. You stop the anger. And why we have depression, you know, is because that's what build-up of years and years of build-up. Because you're a more quiet person. That seems evident to me. You know, you probably don't express your anger. So you've got aversion like everybody else, but you don't say it. So that's what depression is. And that's what build-up of depression and anxiety and panic is, you know. I mean, I don't have anxiety. Because I don't suppress. Okay, I hurt other people. But we have to not hurt other people or suppress, but become familiar with our own mind and work with the thoughts. That's the key to success. It takes time.
Sure.
One step at a time, you know, darling.
Sure.
Are
Thank
we
you.
communicating a little bit?
Yeah, I think we do. Thank you so much.
Do you have some kind of practice at the moment, or are you just thinking about it, or why?
Sure, I do meditate. It helps.
Tell me about what you do. Tell me your practice.
I'm writing a lot of my, like, whatever comes, I write
Okay,
for like
good.
an hour, like just
Okay.
all the like vomiting up on the paper, and then I feel a
Okay.
bit more clear, and I have
Okay.
like 20
So
minutes
good.
to
So good. This
meditate.
is a good example. So instead of writing it down, like, you're doing an inner analysis, right? So tell me what you do with what you write.
I
Let's
read
just
it
say
back to myself, and
you do.
I kind
What do you
of
do?
I become aware of my patterns, and I try to point out what I didn't write, like where's the part when I'm not 100% honest,
I
like
hear you. I
I
hear you.
omitted something,
Okay.
and I'm like,
And
yeah,
I hear you.
that's
So it's a bit
yeah.
like you've gone to tennis and you come back home and you write a long whole series of all the things that happened and didn't happen. So then okay, but it's sort of like, but one of the things is, it's good you're doing this. It's good you're seeing your mind. You're seeing there's some parts of the Buddhist analysis. You've got the neurotic, unhappy, deluded parts of the mind, and then we have the virtuous parts. It's thinking very simply. So then you've got to make sure you see both. Because if we only point out the faults, we get exhausted. If you only ever point out how you don't play tennis properly, you will get exhausted and give up. So you've got to also look at the effort you made and the progress you're making, and be humble and rejoice. I can't stress this enough. Are you hearing me?
Yeah,
But the irony of ego is we love to find faults and we don't like to praise.
yeah,
And if
because
we do,
it's hard to, like, you want to be humble, so you don't want to
I
overpraise
know,
yourself,
but
be
don't throw the
narcissistic.
baby out with the bathwater. Humble, sometimes we think of that as low self-esteem, and then being just praising yourself and being rejoicing in your good qualities, we sometimes think that of arrogance, and that's not arrogance, no. That's intelligence. It's called self-confidence. So we have to distinguish it. You see, the key thing in Buddhist psychology that I find helpful, the character of the unhappy ones is that they kind of like, they're stressful and they exaggerate and they're not clear. But the character of the positive ones, are they more clear? They're more realistic. So if you have, say, attachment to your partner, you over-exaggerate his deliciousness, you over-exaggerate his job to make you happy, you have all this emotional neurotic grasping at him, that's a disaster. But if you have love for your partner, you see him more objectively, you want him to be happy, and it's more objective and more reasonable and more altruistic. But they're mixed together often. So you've got the neurotic ones aren't comfortable and the positive ones are. So low self-esteem is revolting. Oh, I'm hopeless. You exaggerate your badness. But arrogance exaggerates your goodness. They're both rubbish. But self-confidence is mixed with humility. It's more reasonable and it's calm and quiet. Do you understand
Sure.
me?
But
So be brave.
thank you. Aren't the neurotic ones sometimes more sweet and thus,
Well, they can be
alluring?
attachment. Yeah. No, attachment can be very exciting. All the anticipation.
We don't do that. We don't, that's
No, I
an
know,
illusion. We don't go that way. We try not
No,
to.
it's okay, but also remember there's also some good stuff in there that's called love and kindness. So when you're really attached and if you're enjoying the company of your boyfriend, there's also some good in there. So don't make it all attachment and don't call it all good. You've got to be much more, it's sort of like the water's got some pollution in it. We've got to distinguish the pollution from the good stuff. It's not an easy job. It's quite subtle. But keep going and rejoice in your good qualities and be brave and don't give up, okay?
Thank you.
All right, darling. Who else? Yuli, go on then. Hello, Yuli. Hello, sweetheart. Talk to me.
Hello.
Yeah.
Thank you for your words. They're very valuable. My question is, when you engage your mind, you begin to clearly see that the world, or rather the people in this world, are delighted. And this picture looks so sad.
I'm a little bit confused by the words you're saying. I don't quite understand the people look delighted. What do you mean,
I
darling?
think deluded.
Oh, deluded.
Deluded.
Okay, go.
Deluded.
Yes,
And
yes,
this picture,
yes.
deluded. And this picture
Yes.
looks so sad.
Yes, it's true. It does. Then
I would like to ask you, recommend one book I can read to move forward.
Oh, darling, there's so many books, hundreds and hundreds of books, certainly in English. So many books, so many variations. Darling, I don't know I don't know what to say to you there. That's it's kind of a big question in a way, because it depends on your personality, the style, what you like, what appeals to you. I don't know what to tell you, darling. I don't know what to tell you, what to say. Have you read any? I mean, talking Buddhism, have you read any Buddhist books? No? Have you read?
Yes.
What kind of books have you read? Give me, it doesn't matter. I'm not
Bhagavad
going to test
Gita,
you.
Upanishades.
Oh, all of these fancy ones. I'm talking about simple books in modern language, like the Dalai Lama or somebody who's a real example of a good Buddhist. The ancient texts, that's very interesting, yeah, or wonderful Hindu texts, that's fantastic. But I would recommend somebody more modern, a more modern type of person who is a practitioner. Like, for example, if you look at some books by my teacher Lama Yeshe, he's been around since the 70s, but he speaks very down to earth, very humble, very simple, very beautiful teachings. So if you go onto a website in English called lamayeshe.com, Lama, Lama, Yeshe, Yeshe.com. That's the website of my teachers from the last 50 years, their teachings, and it's in English. So there's so many things of Lama Yeshe, very down to earth. There's lots of little books you can download his teachings, and they're very encouraging, very down to earth, and very delicious, very uplifting. Lama Yeshe, okay? That's my recommendation. Okay, darling? Enough? You want more?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Yuli. Keep moving, darling. Somebody else, Olga. Hello, Olga.
Здравствуйте. Я буду говорить по-русски, мне нужен будет переводчик. У меня очень короткий вопрос. Я бы хотела узнать, как правильно относиться к плохим событиям, автором которых ты не являешься. Например, у тебя умер кто-то близкий, кто-то сильно заболел, кто-то, не знаю, там, ты встретил человека, в итоге с которым ты, например, попал в тюрьму, ну, с действиями совместными. Вот, как правильно относиться? Ты действительно это заслужил? Или это цепляние ума за оправдание ситуации и просто отказ от того, что, ну, бывают плохие события, и мне надо просто двигаться дальше?
So the question is, how do I relate to the events in my life, like to objectively bad, negative events that I had nothing to do with, like someone who I love die, or I met
Someone what?
someone,
No, sorry, someone what?
someone whom I loved
Yeah.
died,
Okay, go. Yeah.
or someone who I met on my path did something and we end up in the jail or prison.
I hear.
So how do I
understand.
relate to it? Is it my responsibility or is it their responsibility?
I understand, darling. I understand, Olga. I understand, darling. I understand. There's so many approaches, okay? But if we take this fundamental Buddhist approach, this analysis, okay, of why we suffer in these situations. So you could say, on the one hand, in the world, there's Olga, and then there's the outside world, isn't it? So Olga might read the paper one day and she'll read some nice news and she'll be happy. Another day she reads the news and she gets unhappy. One day her friend loves her, another day her friend dies. So what you're suggesting is there's the outside world, good things happen and bad things happen. And then there's Olga and Olga's response. We agree with that, don't we? Just nod. Does she hear what I'm saying? You understand my point, Olga, in general. So, okay, so we can't change... Because we all instinctively believe that what goes on in the outside world is the main cause of our happy feelings and the main cause of our unhappy feelings. And we can see it some degree true. If the weather is really bad, you feel cold. If the food is delicious, you feel happy. There's no argument there. But if we rely upon, the Buddhist approach really is if we rely upon the outside world to be perfect every day because we want to be happy, that's fine, but you won't get it. You'll be only disappointed. And we can see that is true. So what's the solution? Well, that's the Buddhist approach. You might not be able to change the world. And Buddha says, please, if you can change it, please change it. But what if you can't? That's the key. And that's where working on our mind is just a practical job. So we can't stop people dying. We can't stop people criticizing us. We can try and, hello, sweetheart, we can try and change it, but we can't always be successful. So this is where attachment and aversion come in. So when we understand that the neurotic part of us, this constant craving, this neurotic, unhappy, emotional attachment is always craving for everything to be nice. But you're not going to get it. So what happens when it doesn't happen, when your friend dies, when a person is mean to you, we get angry, we get hurt, we get depressed. So this is the part we can try to change. It's not an easy job, but it's the most powerful because this is the one thing we can learn to control. You can't control the outside world. We can't make your child do everything you want. You can't make the husband do everything you want him to do. But we can learn to work with our mind, and that's the job that we're discussing here. Do you understand me, darling? It's a really hard job, but we can be successful if we can. Like even the example of the boy getting upset with his boyfriend. Even the simple example we used about the boyfriend getting upset with his boyfriend slurping the coffee, a tiny example, right? Do you understand me? A tiny example that even if you can change your mind about that, then we can practice the small things. Let her do it. This is a good example. Let her just do it, and you focus on me. It's okay. If we can change our approach to something, then we can stay stable. Of course, it's the most difficult job, but this is the essence of the Buddhist approach, that we've got the ability to do that. Do you understand? What do you think, Olga, in general? If you want to ask more questions on the basis of that, then please do, darling.
Это я поняла. Спасибо вам за ответ. Меня больше, наверное, волнует история про то, стоит ли искать причины. Ну, скажем так, я действительно этого заслужил, что плохое произошло. Или нам просто не нужно об этом думать и просто работать над своим умом?
So should we actually look for the reasons why it happened? And did I really deserve it to happen to me? Or should we just accept it as it is and let it go?
I understand. Well, sometimes, you know, if somebody at work criticizes your job, criticizes what you did, and you know it's not true, then maybe it's useful to discuss it with them. Now, let's say your boss doesn't agree that you did it, and they think you did a bad job, and you know you didn't do a bad job. Then you don't have much choice. You either leave the job, or you keep arguing, which doesn't win anything, or you just accept. It's each different situation is different. If you can change the outside, fine. If you can go back to the original cause of it to see if you did something wrong, fine. But sometimes acceptance has to be not passive, not self-pity, but just this is the way the world is, you know. So, of course, on a deeper level, Buddhism has this very extensive presentation of this concept of karma, that your mind, Olga, comes from many, many past lives. She comes into this world programmed with all her own tendencies. She's programmed to meet these people who do this to her, to have a daughter, to have a husband. One person wants to kill her. One person wants to love her. The Buddhist view of why even we meet people, why we get praised, why we get criticized, is all from past karma. That's another whole discussion, and that's up to a person whether they like the karmic view, you know. But it's each individual situation is different. Not to be passive, not to be passive, and not to stay angry. That's difficult, but it's possible. Are you communicating? Your little daughter's determined to get attention. But I mean, it's up to you to look into all this. You can't just do it, you know, you're up to you. But to know that it's possible, you can learn to know your mind well and learn to change that. It's very powerful and brings very good results. But we have to have courage. We have to have courage, you know, Olga. Do you understand, darling?
Я
Olga?
прошу прощения. Да.
We're communicating.
Я прошу прощения, у моей дочери аутизм. Ей трудно справляться.
What, darling? What's she say? What's she say, Ina?
She's saying that her daughter had neurodivergency, and it's hard for her to.
I believe you, darling. Well, you must be doing an amazing job being a good mother to her. So much rejoicing in your wonderful qualities, Olga.
Спасибо.
Okay, darling. You be brave, okay?
Спасибо.
Amazing. Good, darling.
How much time do we have, Venerable Ravina?
What did we schedule? I don't know. What did we schedule?
I mean, we can go on and on because we have this wonderful opportunity to.
We can say a few more questions. Come on, this is helpful.
Okay.
It's a good question.
Okay, great. Let's just ask Marina.
Okay, Marina, talk to me, darling.
Здравствуйте, благодарю вас, Робина. У меня вопрос такой. Я практикующая буддистка, и я все больше и больше сталкиваюсь с тем, что сансарические дела никогда не закончатся, и они затягивают все больше и больше. То есть я становлюсь более где-то ответственнее, более осознаннее, и мне хочется все успеть. И из-за этого я не всегда успеваю выполнять свою практику. Например, предварительную практику Нёндра, которую я сейчас делаю. И из-за этого возникает чувство вины. И я иногда, вот, знаете, в каком-то внутреннем конфликте. У меня есть обязанность, у меня есть сын, у меня есть животные. Я одна ращу сына, и поэтому я разрываюсь иногда между выполнить мне практику или все-таки там каким-то делам уделить время. Или отложить.
It's making sure to ask a question, Ina. Is Ina going to translate for me?
Yep.
Go on.
So, вы задайте тогда вот вопрос.
Да, вопрос в том, что какой бы совет вы могли дать, вот как мне работать со своим умом, чтобы не выходить вот в это состояние разрозненности, раздора, да, чтобы сохранять покой, практиковать. Ну, хочется быстрее успеть, да, как бы. Ну.
Okay, so Marina is a practicing Buddhist, but she has a lot of commitments in her life, including her son, and sometimes she wouldn't find time for her Nundra practice. And what kind of advice can you give for
I understand, darling.
Stay motivated?
So my first question to you, seeing as you said you got your Nundro, it implies that you have a Lama. Is that true? Yeah?
Ну, да.
Yeah, you do. So you're committed
Yeah.
to this path. Okay, so the first answer to that question is you have to be clear what you have agreed. It's sort of like you've made a contract with your Lama. Like when you write a contract, you agree to do something. So the basic one with your Nundros, you could spend 5 hours, or maybe you can do them in 5 minutes. So if you're clear about what your commitment, your word of honor is, you do it, but you can do it small. Why can't you? I mean, if you're, what's the minimum time your Nundro would take you every day? What's the minimum time done with sincerity but short? What is the minimum time? I'm asking you. I'm asking her.
Час, полчаса,
1
может
hour.
быть.
30 minutes.
Okay,
30 minutes.
then sweetie, you don't have a problem. 30 minutes is perfect. You can fit 30. You can find 30 minutes to do your Nundro, can't you? But you do it with a happy mind, not guilty, not neurotic, not, oh, I should do more, I'm bad. Do it with a happy mind and with devotion, and you will get much benefit from it. But do it with a happy mind. And try to do it very first. Try to wake up earlier than the family and be disciplined there so you have some taste, because they all say, all the lamas say morning is the best time. So try and do it before everybody else, and try not to rush it. Even if it's only 30 minutes, do it with a good heart and try to get nourishment from it. Don't do it out of guilt or pushing. No benefit. So that's my advice. Yeah? And the rest of your day, you put the Dharma into your day. That's real practice. Don't think your practice is just sitting on your cushion. You know that. Remember that. When you're patient, when you're practicing kindness, when you're seeing things as dependent, arising, and empty, when you apply karma, when you apply impermanence, that's practice throughout the rest of the day, isn't it? And then that nourishes your next day Nundro practice. You understand?
No.
Okay, darling. Okay, sweetheart. Go on, next one. Yes, hello there. What's his name?
Vladislav.
Vladislav.
Hello, yeah, I'm Vlad.
Talk to me. Talk to me, sweetheart.
I'm going to try talk English, but I speak rarely, so I should ask for some patience if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
There is that concept in Buddhism that everything that we know we take from direct experience.
No, explain that. What do you mean by that? I don't understand those words.
Может быть, по-русски?
Хорошо, давайте. Есть идея в буддизме, что все, что мы знаем из непосредственно прямого опыта, пережитого в медитации. И дальше есть идея с реинкарнацией. И мне интересно, какой именно непосредственно пережитый прямо опыт является тем, который позволяет нам утверждать, что...
I get the idea. I think I get the idea. So what's his question? I get it. I think I hear it. I heard a couple of words there. Tell me what he said so far, Ina.
Okay, there is idea in Buddhism. He's saying that everything we can perceive, we can actually perceive from a direct experience in meditation. And then there is a reincarnation. So,
question? The question is?
Yeah. Вы можете еще раз сформулировать вопрос вот прям четко?
Question. What's the question?
Yeah, I'm working.
I know. I'm just stating it again to be clear.
Какой прямо пережитый опыт позволяет нам утверждать, что это действительно существует, а не что это история, которую ум нам рассказывает.
Okay. So what kind of direct experience allow us to say that reincarnation is actually something that exists and it's not that
easy. I've actually said it already, but of course it's hard to hear. Go right back to the beginning. Okay, let's say we're describing here Einstein and he tells us his presentation of relativity. Let's say, not Buddha and his presentation of something. Let's say it's Einstein. And you go to the Einstein class and you hear him say relativity. Now, you're asking the question, how do I prove that? Aren't you? He's asking, how can I get direct experience of that? That's what he's asking, right? Well, you know the answer. You have to go to start at the beginning and you learn 1 + 1 is 2. And then you learn more complicated mathematics. And then you learn algebra and you learn physics and eventually you prove it. Well, same here, baby. So the Buddha, this is the point. One time in New Zealand, I remember one man, he happened to be a scientist. And he said, who revealed the teachings to the Buddha? Because that's our typical experience of religion. It's coming from revelation, it's coming from God. And the crucial point is you can't prove it. That's what we think religion is. You can't prove it. So when we hear reincarnation, because we can't see it with our eye, we think, well, how can you prove it? So this is the point. Buddha. So if we take first the view that Buddha is like Einstein, so actually, okay, in answer to his question, when he said, who revealed the teachings to the Buddha, I said to him, would you ask Einstein who revealed the teachings about relativity to him? And of course he laughed, and everybody laughed, because we know you wouldn't ask Einstein that, because we know Einstein was an intelligent man who used his intelligence. He observed the laws of the world. He observed it. He came up, he codified the laws, and he presented his findings. We accept that, don't we? You agree with this so far? About Einstein, you agree? Yeah?
Я согласен с этим, но
Okay.
в контексте теории относительности мы можем поставить четкий проверяемый эксперимент, который...
Wait, no, what's he saying? What's he saying?
In the context of relativity, we can actually test it, right?
Good.
In the lab.
Stop. Hey, no, this is my point. Don't leap ahead. Shh. Don't leap ahead. You leapt ahead. Listen to me. I'm trying to get to the answer for you. I'm getting to the answer. I'm telling you, Buddha is the same as Einstein. So where did Einstein get his experience of relativity from? His own observation. Where then did you think Buddha got his own observation about reincarnation? Where would it come from if Buddha was the same as Einstein? Where would it come from? Where would you assume that information came from? His own mind, right? So let me explain to you. Yeah. These Indians invented this technique called single-pointed concentration. It's a brilliant psychological skill. They invented it 3,000 years ago, that enables a person to go beyond the grosser level of mind to a subtle level of mind. And that level of mind, because it's more subtle, has the power to cognize more subtle phenomena, including the past, including the future. So this concept of reincarnation is there and is the result of the experiential findings of meditators. All the techniques are there for you to do. It's all there. The evidence is there. You just have to do it yourself, and you'll get clairvoyance. It's very simple. In the view of the mind in Buddhism, clairvoyance is a natural potential of every mind, and how you get it is by following single-pointed concentration. It's all there. It's all there for you. It's up to you to do it. Can you hear the concept, the principle I'm making?
I understand it, but I'm not sure that I've got an answer. Stop.
You're asking me, how do you prove reincarnation? You're asking that question, aren't you?
I'm not asking to prove. I am asking how to
you must be. You're having a direct experience
it.
of it. No, you want a direct experience of it, which is proving it. Same
yes,
thing. You have to have a direct experience. You have to have a direct
experience. Let me say, please.
I'm not going to. No, I understand already. I'm being rude now. You listen to me. You want a direct experience of relativity. Einstein has done the work internally, and he presents his findings, and he says, this is my methodology. You follow these steps and you will come to the same experiential conclusion. Buddha is saying the same. He is saying, follow these steps, do single-pointed concentration, access your subtle level of mind. That subtle level of mind has the ability to see past and future. You have to get that's the presentation. That's the hypothesis. All the proof is in there. So you then do that, and you either prove two things. One, it's wrong, or it's right. One or the other. It's all the same principle. Why do you find that hard to understand? I beg your pardon?
We say that something is right when this truth is shared with other people.
Insofar as it's reality. And, what? Sorry, start again. What are you saying? What are you saying?
We say that something is true when this truth is shared with other people. When someone
that's exactly
else
right. This is shared by everybody who's got single-pointed concentration. Every person of the millions of people over the century.
Can we know that something that is equal?
By you doing it yourself. By you doing it yourself. By you doing it yourself, you prove it. You can say Einstein has proven relativity, but until you prove it, it is only belief for you. You have to prove it yourself. You have to prove it yourself. You have to prove it yourself. 1 million people can have proved relativity, but it's only belief for you until you prove it yourself. Same with reincarnation, same with karma, same with emptiness, same with every single word in the entirety of the Buddhist presentation of the universe. It's exactly the same approach, no different. It's up to you to follow the steps and prove it for yourself. Or you prove it's wrong, one or the other. There's only two options. So the other point is this to me. Listen, listen, the other point. Any body of knowledge, whether it's mathematics, physics, acupuncture, or Buddhism, or cooking, any body of knowledge, please hear my words, any body of knowledge that is valid, you must first it must be first coherent theoretically. You must start with a coherent theory. Then you can do the work. And Buddhism is exactly the same. But we're not used to religion thinking. The religious view is you believe God. That's the radical difference here. You can believe 1 + 1 is 2 for 1,000 years, and you can manage because enough people count. But if your mother says, go to the market and buy me 7 oranges, you are not capable because you don't have the knowledge. You have to have the knowledge yourself, the direct experience. That's the entire point in every single step in Buddhism.
You are just saying that I'm not ready for that question, as I understand.
I beg your pardon? I beg your pardon?
You are telling me that I am not ready for that question.
I did not. I am telling you the exact correct answer to your question. It was a great question. I gave you the answer to it. Where's your problem? Where's your problem? Why is not the answer? What piece is missing for you?
I think that this question is not the one you can actually answer. It's just
I have answered it. No, I have.
To see itself.
No. Listen, if you don't know relativity and you're not a scientist, I could, let's say I am Einstein, I can speak to you all the words about relativity. Initially, you wouldn't understand them, would you? Because you don't have the theory in your mind, do you? So what would you have to do?
Knowledge about reincarnation is not something conceptual that can be taught by words.
I beg your pardon? What did you say?
Knowledge of reincarnation is not something you can share by words, by conceptualizing.
Absolute rubbish. You don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. You're mistaken. From the Buddhist perspective, you're mistaken. So keep your mind open enough to have the possibility that you can learn to develop clairvoyance and prove for yourself reincarnation. And if you can't do that, then don't bother. If it can't, Buddha's view is anything he says, all the presentation of Buddha's teachings, like Einstein, if you can't take that theory and make it your own direct experience, then it's a load of bullshit. Okay? That's the principle. That's up to you. So think about it, okay? Thank you, darling. Very good question. And my answer is a perfect answer for you.
And maybe we can add that there are a lot of books and classical Buddhist texts describing precisely.
No, I don't need to say that. It goes without saying.
It goes without saying that you can study the whole process of reincarnation.
And then you have to put it into practice. You study it first, like Einstein, and then you put it into practice. It's up to you. You can't sit in your chair comfortably and get someone to prove relativity to you. That's lazy. You have to do it yourself. Someone else.
I'm doing.
Who else? Who else is there? A couple more questions, then we can finish.
Okay. So,
well, there's 3 more. Alexander, Maxim, and then the next man whose name
Добрый день.
Hello there, Anton. Talk to me.
Здравствуйте. У меня несколько вопросов. На своем опыте мне показалось...
Давайте, пожалуйста, на одном остановимся, если можно, а то уже довольно поздно.
Хорошо.
Make sure you ask a question. I don't want a statement. Tell him first, I don't want a statement and presentations and hypotheses. I want a question.
Если можно, сформулируйте, вот именно так, чтобы был вопрос.
Да, конечно, я сейчас его сформулирую. Сегодня говорили о том, что медитация в каком-то смысле может заменять психотерапевта. Просто Робина косвенно упоминала об этом или прямым образом об этом упоминала. Я на своем опыте заметил, что медитация мне в моей жизни давала определенное состояние, но одновременно с этим она являлась пластырем, который заклеивал рану. И Вопрос следующий. Действительно ли Робины считают, что медитация может, ну, обычного человека из города с какими-то проблемами, что он может с помощью медитации сам осознать все свои паттерны поведения, ну, и
Is it a
вывести
question,
себя
Ina? Is it a question or a statement? Ina, I'm
куда
being rude.
надо?
It is
A
a
question.
question.
Okay,
Yeah.
come on, what's the question then? Tell me what he said so far.
Okay, so far he said that some of your talks are entitled like be your own therapist. So the question is meditation actually a replacement for the therapy? Because in his experience, sometimes meditation...
No, not at all. No, okay, I understand, I hear it. No, darling, listen, the job in Buddhism is to eradicate from your mind the neuroses because they cause you suffering and to develop to perfection the goodness. This is a long-term job, not just overnight. It's a huge job. And there's countless methods to do it. The classical presentation in Buddhism is you get your single-pointed concentration, you do the inner work, and you gradually do it every day based upon the skill. Like getting single-pointed concentration in meditation is like sharpening the knife. Then you use the knife to develop the wisdom of knowing your mind and doing the work. Now, if you can do that, and then you can have a therapist, and you can go and play tennis, and you can play yoga, and you can sit on your head, whatever helps you better know your mind, baby, go for it.
Mm-hmm.
You get my point?
А есть еще такой момент, то что в какой-то момент ты перестаешь отождествляться с эмоциями, состояниями и превращаешься как бы в наблюдателя. И это потом из жизни выливается, то что ты как будто бы все время наблюдатель, и как будто
What's he
ты
saying?
немного в сером оттенке начинаешь жить.
The question is, if you're constantly observing your emotion and you're sort of a witness of your emotion, does it actually bring you the sense of detachment from your own experience? So you're not actually interacting with reality, you kind of detached from the reality.
To be detached from reality sounds to me like mental illness. I wouldn't want to.
I mean, detached from your own experience.
No, listen, if you're playing tennis and your teacher told you to hold the racket a certain way and you get all upset and angry if you don't do it properly, you can't get far. So if you can hear the instruction and just do it properly, then of course detachment is a very intelligent state of mind that can see things more clearly. When we're full of emotion and unhappiness, we can't see past our own nose. So detachment can be misunderstood, but it's more as an intelligent, clear state of mind that can observe what's going on in your mind so you can make rational, clear decisions about how to change yourself. I mean, are we communicating here, Anton? What do you think?
I guess he wanted to ask, does it make you a zombie, like someone without any emotions?
Okay, so then I have to ask you, Anton, why would you want to do that? Why would you want to become a zombie? How appalling! I don't understand your question now. I'm lost completely.
No, he doesn't want. He actually asking.
Then why is he suggesting that Okay, why is he just suggesting detachment is a good thing? Then asking that.
He's not suggesting that the detachment is a good thing. He actually want to ask, he thinks it's not a good thing, and how we avoid falling into that trap of, just observing our emotions and not being a human with emotion.
Well, that seems different from what you said before. Please forgive me. I didn't understand then. I have to say I didn't understand the question.
It's probably my fault.
The goal is not to merely observe your feelings and become a zombie. I mean, I know you're not suggesting it is that, but it's not that. And if that is beginning to happen, then you're not doing the job properly. I'm not saying you are. The job is to see your mind and to identify there's anger, there's jealousy, there's depression, there's anxiety, and to see the pain it causes you. And then to see you have good qualities, self-confidence and courage and perseverance and kindness. So simply speaking, to learn to lessen the first lot and to grow the second lot. So the whole approach is very dynamic. Now, there are different kinds of meditation. The meditation that mostly I think you're referring to is the first kind that's called single-pointed concentration, where it is not discursive, where you're not involved in your concepts. You're not even observed in watching your mind. You're training yourself to stay focused. You're training yourself to stay focused. In other words, you're training yourself not to be absorbed in all the nonsense. So you're training yourself so when you do look into your mind, off the cushion, you can be much more clear in seeing what is going on, and you can learn to be in charge of what's happening in a more dynamic way. The aim is not to become a zombie. The aim is not just to be merely detached. The aim is not to merely observe your emotions. That for me is a bit like I said before, you can have very good mindfulness, let's say, of your garden. You can keep your eyes open and you can develop really good concentration observing your garden. But that's nihilism if you don't mix that with the intelligence of botany, so that when you're more clearly observing the garden, you can now see, aha, there is a weed, there is a herb, and you now know what to do with it. It's very dynamic. Same with your mind. Are we communicating a little bit here, Anton? I'm sorry. If not, please ask your question again or ask it differently.
Мне понятно, просто я до этого был на стороне того, что нужно просто наблюдать, а оно само уйдет. А в вашей концепции, то есть вы говорите о том, что нужно фокусироваться на позитиве и вырывать, негативные сорняки.
What's he saying? Go on.
So he's saying that he understood you because previously he has the impression that if you just observe it, it will sort of heal.
No, I know. I understand.
Yeah.
No, I do hear that, Anton. And there is an approach in the big picture. One of the approaches that is important sometimes is just to merely observe. It's not an absolute technique that you do every time. If you can see, let's say, you're really emotional about something and you can't control, like your wife or your boyfriend slurping their coffee, keep it really simple. Nothing dramatic. Then and you're getting annoyed. You feel yourself irritated. So then one approach is just shut up, Anton. Just observe it. It's just an action. There's no essence there. That is a good example. That could be one approach. The other approach could be more dynamic. Oh, come on, give it a break. It's impermanent. It'll change in 3 minutes. Another approach could be kind. Come on, Anton, give the man a break. Let him slurp his coffee. It's all a question of which technique you use. You've got a whole toolkit of tools, and one of them can be useful to just merely observe, to cut the emotional garbage, But that's not an absolute technique that you apply to everything every time. That's the point. It's one of the many tools in your toolkit. Are we communicating, Anton?
Да, благодарю.
Good. Thank you so much. Thank you. So 2 more people, then we can finish. Maxime and Alexander.
Okay.
Hello, Alexander.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Awesome. So I have a question about this thing that was in the very beginning. You say that it's not for us to answer that question or something like that, not to ask that question.
That? No, which one?
What
did I say?
I heard that you said that we should not maybe ask that question or maybe go in the direction, but I'm
totally confused by that. What did I say? About what though? What question? Looking what direction?
About finding the very beginning of this chain.
I see what you mean. No. Now I understand. I understand. No, what I meant by that was for the Buddha, it's a non-question. It's an absurd question because by definition, this is the point. By definition, if we posit the law of cause and effect, the natural law of cause and effect, and the Buddha would suggest that law runs the universe, and I would suggest in science we agree with that, that everything is cause and effect. So what I meant by that was, thank you, your point, is that it's a non-question. Where did something begin? What you're asking there is what was the first moment? And by definition, if you posit cause and effect, anything in the universe, there can't be a first moment. There can't be a first Big Bang. That's why the Dalai Lama said not the first Big Bang. So the Christians, for example, have very detailed philosophy trying to prove that there can be a first cause, and they call it God. In other words, the whole concept of God is that God doesn't have a cause. And Buddha says that's not viable. If something exists, by definition, it has a cause. Therefore, you can't say it's the first cause, because first cause implies that thing didn't have a previous cause, and that's not possible. That was the point.
But why that whole thing is possible? Not why, not
what?
where in,
sorry, what?
When did it begin?
Yeah.
But why is it possible at all?
What possible? Why is what possible? No, I
the
want to be
laws
clear.
of physics, the chain of events, every event. Why is it happening?
That's what we've got to look into. But just based on this view, I'm just saying, based on an assumption here, based on the hypothesis that cause and effect is the law that runs the universe. Based on that hypothesis, it's a non-question. So, of course, the next step is let's prove cause and effect. Of course, that's the job. That's the next job. You see my point? You must. That question you must ask. Are you communicating with me? It's just like, again, like I said before to that previous guy, Buddha would say, Einstein says E equals mc squared. You have to, you can take it as, okay, this is a good point. If in order for you to prove E equals mc squared, you can't prove it immediately. You've got to take it as your hypothesis. You've got to open your mind to the possibility that E could equals mc squared, and then you go back to basics and you start with 1 + 1 is 2. So the same here, you take as a hypothesis cause and effect. Otherwise, you can't open your mind to it. You can't just say, I believe it or I don't believe it. You've got to take it as a hypothesis, which is what the scientific approach is. And then you begin the job of proving or not proving. Do you understand me?
Okay, but so there are things that we cannot see the beginning of, or like we just admit that there are.
No. You're taking the hypothesis, the natural law is cause and effect. From that perspective, there can't, by definition, be a first cause. That's the hypothesis here. We've got to look into that. That's all. We've got to look into that.
But everything has a cause. Everything.
By definition, the universe, Buddha would say that universe, okay, in a more philosophical view, there's certain abstract things, forget that. But in general, the universe, minds, people, dogs, countries, carpets, moons, stars, whatever the universe consists of is, the Buddhist view is either matter or mind, and it's a beginningless continuity of stuff. That's why he said Big Bang. It can't be the Big Bang, fine, just not the first Big Bang. But the Buddha would suggest, because we have this deep mistake in our mind that grasps at everything as having a permanent nature, then our question of always where's the first one is a fundamental mistake. But we have to look into that, though. We've got to look into it. Are we communicating? Alexander.
Yeah, but it's just I have to think about it. I cannot just.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
Right away. So.
No, of course. This is the thinking. The Buddha, basically, the point in Buddhism is Buddha's presenting his findings, like Einstein presents his findings. We know that as science, and we're very comfortable, even though we hear what he says, it might be the dumbest thing we've ever heard. Who the hell has ever heard of E equals mc squared? Who the hell has heard of relativity? We listen to it seriously, and then we don't swallow it whole. Or we don't say, like all the fundamentalists, no, he's a devil, he's talking evil. You don't just merely believe it and you don't reject it. But if you check Einstein's a reasonable guy, he's got a good reputation. So then you decide, if you want to take it as your hypothesis, and then you start the hard work of proving it. 1 + 1 is 2, E equals mc squared, or Buddhahood, emptiness. Nirvana, same principle, not a question of belief. That's the point I'm making. The Christian view is you necessarily can only believe it because it can't be proved by ordinary people. That's the radical difference in Buddhism.
Yeah, but
if you can prove that Buddha's wrong, then you can't even reject him.
Okay.
Every word he says has to be able to be proved by a person who can also become a Buddha, just like Einstein. You can become your own Einstein. And if you can prove anything he says is wrong by doing the work, then you must reject him. Very clear.
But what if I just see the world and I see God? What's wrong with that? Like, I just see it.
You can decide that if you want to. That's up to you to decide. If you want to think that way, and you have an opposite. I mean, got to define what you mean by God. Well, what's God, for example? What do you mean by God? You have to have a definition of it. What is God, please? I might be interested in doing it. Good. What's God, please? I'll say, Alexandra. Give me the definition of God, please.
God is everything that exists there.
Well, then you better start proving it. There's a lot of work to be done. You better write a 1,000-page book proving all that. Can't just say the words. It's like saying, oh, I believe E equals mc squared. Don't be so lazy. That's intellectual laziness. Prove your position, please. Come on. Can't just say laziness, total intellectual laziness.
I see something, it communicates with me. I see it, it exists. So if something exists, it's marvelous. It's
well, good enough. If that's how you like it, if it makes you happy, then you go for it, baby. That's not what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
Okay. You can do what you like. You're the boss. Yes, Maxim. Hello.
Здравствуйте. Мы сегодня много говорили про дисциплину и про разные пути. У меня нет проблем с дисциплиной практики, но есть вопросики собственно, к выбору пути. То есть я как-то перебираю разные концепции, разные традиции, и в них меняется практика. Соответственно, мой вопрос, как вы сами поняли, на какой традиции стоит остановиться, и как, может, рекомендуете своим
Is he asking a question, I'm not being rude. Is he asking a question,
Yeah,
what's
he
your
does. He's saying that he tried a lot of different approaches and a lot of different traditions. So the question is, how did you know that this is yours, and how did you know that this path is for you?
No, I understand.
And maybe any recommendations for him how to choose?
I do understand, Maxime. I do understand, Maxime. Yeah, everyone is different, we are also different, it's like we have different traditions, different styles, different lineage, the way the Tibetans put it, So of course all of this is based upon anyway, never mind. So then here I was in my life, just briefly, when I was a little girl, brought up in a Catholic family, and I was in love with God, with Our Lady, the saints. I wanted to be a priest. I thought about God all the time. I thought about the saints. But I was also naughty. I was most rebellious in the family. But I had these ideas, trying to work out the meaning of life. God is everywhere. It was my mind. Forget whether it came from, the Buddhist view is karma. Never mind that part. So then as I got older, I wanted to be a nun. My mother wouldn't let me. And then when I was 19 in the 60s, I decided I was going to give up God and hello, boys. You can't have God and boys if you're a good Catholic. So I decided I'd choose boys. So then gradually moved towards the hippie business and then sex and drugs and jazz. And then I was in London at the 60s and radical activism, blah, 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 And I was always looking for a way to see the world. I didn't say those words, but that's what I was doing. I tried to find a view of the world I mentioned before. So I went through the Catholic one, then I went through the hippie one, then I was always very serious, then I went through the communist, lefty, radical one, then I went through saw the black politics and the suffering of imperialism, and then the feminist one. And I think I kind of just kept moving all the time, and then I wanted something spiritual again. I went back to mass. It didn't work. I tried transcendental meditation, and then I did martial arts for a couple of years, and I felt I'd found my path. I loved martial arts. It suited my nature. Then I met these Tibetans. So that's 50 years ago. It's all I can tell you, Maxime. It's somehow, because we're all so different, even in Tibetan Buddhism, there's so many different styles. One of the women before, she's maybe a Kargyupa, and she's doing her nundras, which she's doing all these devotional practices. My approach is different. These Gelugpas, a different style in the Tibetan Buddhism. I want to understand things. I want a theoretical view that seems to be coherent. I want to put it into practice. So each style works differently for different people. All I can say is it took me a while, but I met these lamas. I found they were valid people. I thought I want to be like them, good examples for me, and that's why I find it's important to have a spiritual teacher, a person whom I want to emulate. I checked carefully. And then because in my life, I wasn't interested. I was interested in sex for a while, but it was kind of boring. So I didn't want to have a husband and babies and children and wives and that kind of stuff. So it suited me to take ordination as a Buddhist nun so I could focus my life on doing this. So this is my style, my way, my approach, So the thing is, I said to one of the women before, there's so much stuff out there. It's what's marvelous about these days. So much information, so many good, valid people. So have this aspiration internally. I think it's led by the internal, Maxim. So it's not trying to sound cosmic, but I remember His Holiness the Dalai Lama always says, always aspire to do what's most beneficial. And if you can, long-term better than short-term. So my feeling is it's like you're walking on a road, Maxim, and that road is your life. So forget whether you know about karma or God. Don't worry about that. So you wake up in the morning and here you are today doing this, working here, got a partner, you're working, you got a job, whatever. This is what your life is today. And you're sort of like you're walking on a road, but you're not sure where the turnoff is. Do you understand? So then you can't make it. You can't just go down any turnoff. You can't stop. You can't go back. So you just sort of think, well, may I make the right, so you keep doing your life, may I make the right decision, may I make the right choices, and you just keep living your life, and that of course means in Buddha's terms, you choose, your life is based on good ethics, at least bare bones that, and every day you do this, you do that, and may I do what's most beneficial. You think, may I make the right choices, may I do what's most beneficial. You lead your life, you deal with the people in front of you, you go to bed at night, you get up in the morning, and then one day you go, oh, look at that, there's the turn off. You'll meet a certain person, you'll go to a certain course, and you'll go, there it is, So if I look back on my life, it was like a path. path, but I didn't see it as a path. But if I look back, if I reflect, each one led to the next. So if you always, every moment, try to make the right choice based on good ethics, just a general wish to do what's most beneficial for you and those around you. Maybe you're not sure what's most beneficial. Doesn't matter. May I do what's most beneficial? And this is the point in Buddhism, that every thought we have, we didn't get to talk about karma at all. I'm sorry. Have to have another time. Are we meeting again? Do you have another meeting lined up or what?
We don't have another meeting lined up.
Well,
but
if you do want
would...
we haven't even begun to talk about karma, and we haven't even really begun to talk about the mind. I mean, we haven't really begun, but that's up to you. But the view of karma is that every millisecond of what we think and do and say programs us. So if every thought you have, may I do what's most beneficial, it kind of nourishes the karmic seeds already in your mind. If you say every day, may I get the job that pays the most money, I guarantee you'll find it. It'll lead you to it. So may I do what's most beneficial. May I find my path. May I find my teachers. May I find what's most beneficial for me. It'll lead you to it. It'll come. It's led from the internal, and you go one step at a time. Are we communicating, Maxim?
Да, спасибо за этот вопрос про то, что сейчас вдохновляет, то, что полезно, но при этом вы выбираете в рамках одной традиции все-таки оставаться, или если для вас сейчас полезно смотреть с какой-то другой перспективы, вы берете ее.
So when you are choosing what's useful, you prefer to stay in one tradition, or you choosing between different beneficial...
I understand. It's a good point, Maxime. Let's just say it's yoga you're talking about, or cooking even, just cooking, Let's say you start off thinking, oh, I like cooking. And you start going to cooking classes, or one day it's French, one day it's Jamaican, next day it's English. But as you get more interested in cooking, I think naturally what will happen is your choices will get narrower and narrower based on your tendencies, based on your taste. And that's what happened with me with my spiritual path. It began with martial arts. I tried this, I tried that. And then I just fell into this Buddhist one, which fortunately for me suited me. So here I am. But it'll resonate. What's out there resonates what's inside here. So you'll discover French cooking is the way to go. So then you'll throw out all the others and you'll focus on your French cooking. That'll come naturally as you keep progressing. Same with your spiritual path. You'll find your way. You'll find the teachers that make sense. You'll find the system that works. You'll find the words that work. It'll come, and it's driven by the inside. Do you understand me, Maxime? One step at a time, sweetheart. And trust the process. Do you understand me, Maxime? Are we communicating? Are you sure? Are you finding your way? Does he think he's finding his way? Are you finding your way, do you think? Huh? Are you confident?
Я думаю, что мой путь как раз в том, чтобы попробовать разное, и вот я пока иду по нему.
He thinks that his way is to try a lot of things, so he's now in that phase of his life.
Good, that's it. And don't say no to anything. You do that. You have enthusiasm for it. You try this, you try that, but eventually, sometimes what happens, the danger though can be, because we're very clever intellectually, and if you've got a good mind, sometimes we can get captivated by all the intellectual and you stay on the outside. I know one lady recently said, I've been practicing for 15 years, I go to every kind of class, but she's never made a choice. You can fill your head with thoughts, but you've got to leap in. You can't just, what does that say? You can go to the water, but you can't, what is it? You got to, what's the saying in English? I forget. You got to leap in. You got to jump in at some point, but it'll come naturally. It's not as if the choice should happen before you're ready. As you meet what you hear, if you're listening, using your wisdom, then you know if it works for you. It's one step at a time. So trust your wisdom, but also be very clear and intelligent about it. Don't be emotional. Because sometimes, especially with spiritual paths, people get very emotional and you're a bit neurotic, so be careful, be cautious, because there's a lot of rubbish out there, a lot of people who are rubbish out there, and that could include me, so check up carefully. All right. One more. Hello there.
Okay.
What's his name?
Yeah,
Vladimir.
Vladimir.
Who? Vladimir. Okay, Vladimir, come on,
Right.
talk to me.
I'm trying to find my genuine aspiration, or let's say my true desire in life, in some practical sense that would help me focus my actions in the world with a sense of purpose, let's say.
Good, wonderful.
And from a Buddhist perspective, what kind of practice could help me with that?
I understand.
How does that relate to some kind of Buddhist investigation of ego, discovering the genuine aspiration and discovering your ego. Is there any tension or contradiction between?
I understand. No, it's a good point. So in a way, many of the things I said to Maxime are the same for you, whether you want to decide to become a footballer or a musician or a carpenter or a cook. It's the same so-called worldly or spiritual. It's, first of all, two things. It's related to what you have to know your own mind. You have to know your tendencies, know what you like, know what you're good at. Now, the problem here is maybe you're very good at shooting people. Well, you don't want to follow that. So you've got to notice what your tendencies are, with more towards music, more towards carpentry, more towards helping people. But it's got to be, try to take a view of ethics underpinning it. Good ethics is a good start, I think. Good ethics. You want to choose things that develop you as a person, that help you be of benefit to others. Now, it could be the choice might be for you have the ability to make millions of dollars, in which case choose that job, but based on good ethics. Then it can be marvelously helpful. It could be something else. Don't narrow the options down. So to wish to do what's most beneficial for you in your case would be how to spend your life. So then it's not objective only out there. It's not as if you look at which choice. It's got to be related to you inside, what suits you, what resonates for you, what skills you've got, So even though I'm a Buddhist nun, hang on, I've got certain skills. Since I'm young, I've had a lot to do with words and editing. So always that's been part of my job, using that skill within the work that I do, So look at your skills, look at your tendencies, and that can inform your choices, but based on good ethics.
My personal problem, I guess, is that my mind is, let's say, craving for too many things it can see and find in the world.
Yes.
So many opportunities to follow that it is really hard to focus on something, and maybe lack of perseverance or some kind of focus.
No, I do hear you, and that's the function of attachment. Attachment can get very excited. We can live in our head imagining being a musician and an air, so many things. We've got to try and stop all the chatting, and look inside and really know what makes you happy in a virtuous way. Know what is good for you. You have to know yourself reasonably well, your tendencies. What are you good at? What do you like to do? What gives you most pleasure? In ordinary sense. I'm asking you. Do you want to tell us?
It's not a simple question.
Isn't it?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that for years for now, and so.
Okay, what are you good at? What are you good at?
Language. Communicating
What else?
Communicating people.
Right there, you narrowed it down. You just answered your own question. If you're good at that, use that skill. Don't think about being a pianist or a carpenter. Use that skill. That's exactly the answer to my point. I looked at mine was editing and words. I'm using that. You just said it yourself. Focus on that, and tell the other ones to shut up, and learn to be satisfied, and stop expecting. Go on. What do you think?
Okay, what kind of practice in Buddhist tradition?
No practice. Be practical. No, I'm not giving you any practice. Use your own intelligence, and calm down all your rubbish chatting, and stop trying to be. Stop trying to be perfect before you do it. Just leap in and be humble and try it out, and then you get the
perfection is my strong.
And that can be, and that's okay. Perfection is the long term, but you can't be perfect before. It's sort of like you're saying, well, when I'm perfect at riding a bike, then I'll start to ride a bike. That's schizophrenic. So be humble and jump in and get on that bike and be prepared to fall off. So be humble. It's humility we need. It's humility we need. Be prepared to be wrong. Be prepared to make mistakes, because learning involves making mistakes. But you answered your own question. So pursue that, but start it one step at a time. One step at a time. One step at a time. Be humble, but confident.
Thank you very much.
Oh, darling. Good point to end on, I think. Is it not?
Yes, it is. Thank you so much.
Okay, darling.
Rovina, it was a big hurricane of wisdom.
Well, it's shouting, a lot of shouting and yelling. You always say, people say it's wisdom, but it's shouting and yelling. I know, it's exhausting.
Yeah, well, it is a wrathful wisdom.
So you people, I just want to say, never give up, never give up, never give up. Find your own way. Do that, what I just said to see what you're good at and just start small and go one step at a time. And then maybe we'll meet again one day and begin to talk about the mind and begin to talk about karma, which I never even touched. One day, maybe we meet again. Who knows? We'll see. Keep moving what you're doing, you people. You're doing a wonderful job, Deep Mind. So keep going. Keep helping human beings know our minds, know our potential, have confidence, have perseverance, and have confidence, and rejoice in our virtue, rejoice in our goodness. Okay, everybody. All right.
Thank you so much again, and thank you for sharing so openly and fearlessly and authentically with us. We're really grateful. There are like so many comments in the chat that you may not see, but people are delighted. And I hope
can I finish with a prayer? Can I finish with a prayer in Tibetan? A couple of little prayers, okay. So one of the prayers is just saying, here we've been for a couple of hours, and the Buddhist view is nothing goes astray. Everything's stored in the mind. And every thought we've had, you can think this way, in this last 2 hours, is a seed we planted. So we think we're going to nourish these seeds from this moment forward with our effort, with our goodness, with our courage, to nourish these seeds so that we do develop our own amazing potential so we can be a benefit to others. And the second little prayer is really just expressing this wish that compassion grow and grow in the hearts of all. I'll just sing these two little prayers in Tibetan. Just short. Gewadi nyududag lama sange drubgyone drowa chikyang malupa deyi sala gapashog jangchob semchog rinpoche makye panam kegyuchig kyepa nyampa mepayang gongne gongdu fabashog. Okay. Thanks, everybody. So happy to see you all. Let me just look at you all again one more time. Thank you, darlings. Much love, everybody.
Maybe we can unmute everyone for this little moment to say thank you. Okay, let's
Thank you.
Okay, so
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
И не забудьте, что уже в это воскресенье у нас встреча с Валентиной Цветковой. Это будет что-то совершенно не похожее на то, что сегодня с нами произошло, но это тоже будет очень интересно, классно и ориентировано на практику. Мы будем делать медитацию и фокусироваться на приятном. Будем собирать ресурсы для того, чтобы вот на этот путь с новой зайти зарядом энергии и мотивации. И спасибо всем, кто дошел с нами до самого конца, пережил ураган Робина. И до скорой встречи. Запись мы опубликуем в чате, она будет доступна 3 дня. И есть еще один человек, которого мне бы хотелось поблагодарить особенно. Это Женя, который просто невероятную работу сегодня сделал для нас. Женя, мы очень-очень благодарны тебе. Спасибо огромное. Каждый раз, когда я включала перевод, ты прям был на том же слове, что она говорила. Это было невероятно. Как ты это сделала? Вот, видимо, такая карма тоже. Все, спасибо всем и до встречи. Пока-пока.